Hey there YouTube, it's Aaliyah. Today I'm going to be doing my very first tag video with the Reader Book Problems tag. I saw this tag in a video being done by a booktuber that I follow called Digital and Vellum. If you want to check out an awesome booktuber channel, I'll put an annotation somewhere up in this general area as well as a link down in the description below. Make sure to check them out if you like awesome booktubers. Now I know that I'm not myself a booktuber, but I do read a pretty decent amount, and I was also that kid who got in trouble in literature class for reading under the desk while I'm supposed to be taking notes. More than once. So I can definitely relate to book reader problems, and therefore I'm doing this tag, so here we go. Number 1, you have 20,000 books on your TBR list. How do you decide what to read next? I mostly just kind of go with whatever I happen to be in the mood for, but also since I get a good deal of my books from the local libraries, sometimes it's a little bit more dependent on what to do soonest. Number 2, you're halfway through a book and you're just not loving it. Do you quit reading that book, or do you stay committed and push through until the end? That one kind of depends on how much I'm not loving it. Like, I'll admit when I read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe when I was younger, I didn't especially love it, but it's also kind of one of those classic books that I felt the need that I had to at least try to finish one book in that book series, and so I pushed through and finished it. Meanwhile, there have been plenty of books that I've maybe not been too fond of in similar manners that maybe I just picked it up from the library at random or whatever, and a lot of those books I'll be willing to put down in the middle of reading the book. It really just kind of depends from book to book. Number 3, the year is coming to an end and you are so close but so far away from finishing your Goodreads reading challenge. Do you catch up, and how? I don't actually participate in the Goodreads reading challenge because I don't like putting pressure on myself to read a certain amount of books within a certain time frame. I got enough of that in school. But if I were to participate in the Goodreads reading challenge and this happened, I wouldn't bother with catching up. I would just kind of read at whatever pace I was reading at, because, like I said, don't like to pressure myself with that. It's supposed to be fun, and to me, pressure is not all that fun. Number 4, the covers of a book series that you love don't match. How do you cope? Okay, I'll admit, this does kind of low-key bug me when this happens because I'm very much an aesthetic person, but at the same time, if I love the series, I'm going to love it regardless of how the covers look. At best, I might just wait for the series to finish, because I've learned that generally when you have an entire series of books, when they're all finished, you'll get a set of covers that are all nice and pretty and matchy. But I'll still keep my old books that I would have originally gotten, because those are the books that I fell in love with. And the matching cover set would be more just so I can display them on my bookshelf and look all pretty. Number 5. Everyone and their mother loves a book that you don't particularly like. Who do you bond over shared feelings with? The internet. I don't really get to see a lot of my IRL friends anymore because of scheduling conflicts. Not to mention, it's pretty easy to find somebody on the internet who dislikes the same thing as you, and then you have somebody to bond over that dislike of something with. Number 6, you're reading a book in public and you're about to start crying. How do you deal? This actually isn't terribly likely to happen to me when I'm reading in public. I've kind of learned to detach myself from a book's plotline while I'm in public, at least. Or I can at least detach myself enough to keep tears from actively falling. I might get a little misty-eyed, but that's about it. The big exception is if I happen to be a bit, hormonal at the time, in which case I will make a yawn and rub my eye and then hopefully manage to at least keep tears from actively falling down my face. The tricky part to that is not smearing my eyeliner or my mascara, which, yay, didn't do. Woo! A sequel of a book that you love just came out, but you've completely forgotten what happened in the previous book. Do you reread the previous book, skip straight to the sequel, or cry in frustration? For me, it's mostly skim the previous book in the series. I don't really need to, reread the entire book. If I can get through, the first and last page in each chapter, then I can usually piece together my memories again and figure out what the heck happened in the last book before I get to the sequel. And then I at least know enough about what's going on to actually read without getting really confused in the sequel. This was actually a pretty big issue back when I was reading the Percy Jackson series when I was younger, because the books would come out a year apart from each other, and in between I would be reading so much fanfiction and headcanons that I would completely forget what was canon in the actual books. So a day or two before the next book in the series would come out, I would pick up the previous book in the series and just quick skim through it to figure out what the heck just happened, and that would usually give me enough information to figure out what was going on in the book series as a whole. Number 8. You do not want anyone borrowing your books. How do you tell them no politely? Yeah, I learned this the hard way back in high school, because I'm pretty sure that I've lost a good handful of books to high school friends that just never returned them. So at this point I don't really bother so much with being polite. The closest I get is telling a person, hey, this book that you're wanting to borrow from me, you can get it from the library, and then, you're not borrowing my baby from me. Please don't. Go to the library. Get it there. You're actually gonna return it to them. You won't return it to me. Obviously, I do stop talking after the word library in that sentence. The rest of that is all just in my head. Number 9, reading ADD. You have picked up and put down 9 books in the past month. How do you get over your reading slump? Find which book that I want to prioritize because I want to read it. Usually in situations like that, I'm reading a bunch of different books because I have one book that I want to read, and then the other 4 are ones that I feel like I should be reading for one reason or another, and I'm not letting myself read the book that I want to until I finish the books that I should be reading. And at that point, I usually just kind of go, you know what? Screw you other 4 books, I don't care, I'm reading the one that I want to read. If I get through that, then maybe I'll go back to the others. And if I find that I can't bring myself to read those should reads, then I drop them, because life is too short, and I've already spent enough time in school reading things that I should be reading that I don't want to. I don't want to have to make myself do that as an adult. Number 10, there are so many new books that are coming out that you want to read. How many do you actually buy? Well, that kind of depends on how many hours that I'm getting at work. It also kind of depends a little bit on how much I have been anticipating a particular book coming out, and I will usually pre-order books that I'm really, really wanting to get so that I'm paying for it back when I actually have money, and then maybe when the time of year comes around for that book to actually be released, I will have already paid for it when I had money, and now I have a book and I don't have to pay for it with money that I don't have. And then in the case of more last minute information as far as book releases go, I will lurk on the internet for people who are much faster readers than I am, and they will usually put their opinion on what they think of the book and why. That tends to give me an idea on whether or not I want to prioritize buying a particular book or not. And between using prepaying for books and learning whether or not I actually want to bother with buying a book right away, or if I want to wait for it to get cheaper coming out in paperback or come to the library, then it tends to help me space out my book buying throughout the year so that I can continuously get new books without killing my bank account. And finally, number 11. You have bought all these new books that you can't wait to get to. How long do they sit on your shelf before you actually get around to reading them? No comment? Seriously, I let books sit on my bookshelf for way too long. I'm pretty sure that I still have books that I bought when I was still in school that I haven't even touched, even though I want to read them. I just kind of keep forgetting that I still have books that I need to read, and then I get new books and I start reading those instead, and everything just piles up. So it can kind of range from a couple of days to a couple of years that something sits on my bookshelf. I really need to go through and read a lot of those books. Maybe I'll do that after making this video. So that was the book reader's problem tag. You can check out the video that I originally saw on Digital and Vellum's channel. I'll leave an annotation somewhere over here. If you want to answer these questions yourself, I'll also be leaving the questions down in the description. You can either copy and paste them into a comment if you want, or you can always make your own video response and link it down in the comments so that we can all check it out. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you like it. You can click my face if you want to subscribe to my channel and see more of my videos on basically how to survive adulthood. And I will see you next time. All for now. Bye!